I was listening to the Comic Book Hut in the background while I wrote this, and welcome back to the Comic Book Hut. He's been away for a little while, and he decided to come on back. That's cool. He holds people's feet to the fire, and that's a good thing. There are some late campaigns, and he's very, very quick on pointing that out, and that's fine. We don't all have to be in lockstep agreement. It's good to have a little diversity of thought. We're not SJWs. But as I was listening to him, I thought to myself, note to self, do not ever get on this guy's bad side. He's entertaining to listen to, but he definitely goes scorched earth if he feels that he's been wronged. Let's take a look at these in the background real quick. I wanted to make a quick video about the Edwin Boyette versus War campaign, the whole gay ops thing. Whom is to blame? Following the arguments, is there any way we can just stop? Just agree to leave each other alone. No more memes, no videos about each other. Can't we just go back to making fun of Tim Doyle, Renfamous, Mark Waid, Gail Simone, and the rest of the NPCs on Twitter? Why are we in a circular firing squad? We are all roughly aligned. We want better entertainment, and with the rise of Comicsgate, we are finally getting quality entertainment from Indiegogo. Now, there's some issue about IndieCron being open to non-Comicsgate projects, but I believe someone from War Campaign is starting their own Comicsgate-only Indiegogo website, so this seems to solve that problem. Keep in mind, starting the website takes a lot of man-hours, but if you put a few ads on it, at least you can make a few shekels. It won't pay for itself, but a lot of this is a labor of love anyway. In addition, you could charge creators $100 for a listing, which sounds like a lot, but it would weed out campaigns that aren't serious, because some of the campaigns I've seen don't look like they're ready. I think, to be honest, much of the sniping back and forth is for clicks and super chats. Both sides want outrage eyeballs and those sweet, sweet super chats. If Edwin and Ethan wanted to, they could stop feeding it oxygen. Just stop talking about War Campaign and then get bored and move on to new targets. Eventually, it gets tiresome talking about the same thing, especially when there's so many comic book professionals, and professionals is in quotes, on Twitter to make fun of. Here's the thing, both Edwin and War Campaign are tired of SJWs in comics. That's what started this movement. Admittedly, we have moved way beyond roasting gay Iceman. Like I said in an earlier video, many of us have just moved on from mainstream comics, because now we have alternatives. We have the books of Comicsgate. If they can get the books in stores, that would be great. Or if they could ship 3 books from different creators together, you'd save a ton on shipping. Instead of $25 per book and $10 for shipping, you could probably get 3 books for $85, or even less if the creators decided it was worth it to lower the price for a bundle deal. Anyway, the very public side of arguments, like between Doug TenNapel and EVS, should have remained private. Actually, both of them are at fault. Doug didn't thank EVS when he had the opportunity. Then they bickered, then Doug blocked EVS. It's weird, but I don't pretend to understand Doug. He's a good guy, but he's definitely has his own unique way of doing things. But EVS makes it very public that Doug blocked him, because he knew that he could get a couple of super chat heavy live streams out of it. So my point is, much of this posturing is just for super chats. Honestly, it feels very scripted, like a reality show where 90% of the drama is artificial. So don't let yourself feel like you're forced to choose sides. Just listen to the shows you enjoy, and don't take these social media spats too seriously. You can definitely enjoy EVS, Doug, and War Campaign, because we're all adults. We don't have to bicker like we're in grammar school. One issue I want to gently touch on is that sometimes getting in a rut and listening to the same shows with the same people, you're bound to start noticing feet of clay. That's why it's a good idea to jump around to different shows. Keep things fresh. Comicsgate is still in early days, and right now there isn't anything close to being enough live streams. I hope one day there will be enough live streams, that there's a show every night. There are a lot of us that don't watch TV anymore. When we want entertainment, we turn on a movie or we turn on YouTube. So if you're thinking about starting a channel, go for it. You might find out that you enjoy it. And if you're lucky, you might find yourself in court suing a fat-headed idiot like Mark Waid. It would be great if we could put all this behind us and work together to cross-promote books. Yes, EVS has a huge outreach, but the more people who start channels, the better. the Comicsgate YouTube channels aren't anywhere close to being saturated, and you won't know if you're good at live streams until you jump in there and get your feet wet. Anyway, let's take a quick look at Douglas Ernst's Soulfinder on Indiegogo, because it is closing in a few days, I believe. So where is Douglas Ernst? Feast or Famine. Gosh, there are so many books out here. Okay. Demons March, 30,000. Let me just take a quick look at all of them. Blood Hunt. Is that the second Blood Hunt? Graveyard Shift, the second volume. $100,000 for his second book. That's amazing. I've heard that the cost of getting these books out, I think the break-even cost is somewhere between $30,000 and $40,000 for a color book, depending on how many pages it is, depending on the quality, that kind of thing. So I'm not sure what the break-even cost is on a lot of these books. The Unbreathable Skunk Girl. That looks good. Should we take a quick look at that? Oh, because what's the Squirrel Girl called? What is she? Is the Squirrel Girl the unbeatable Squirrel Girl? Right off the bat, that's pretty good art. 80 pages of fun, no squirrels allowed. Okay, that looks good. Let's take a quick look. I like what I see. I've encountered this toxin before. It's obviously the handiwork of Delilah DeFleur, better known as the Unbreathable Skunk Girl. Skunk Girl, what makes her so special? What spell does she cast on the poor souls? She's not a metahuman, if that's your question. She has above average physical conditioning and has studied some martial arts, but her real weapon is her mind. She has some very creative contraptions. Her main weapon is her tail. It contains a devious pheromone gas that will have you enthralled and absolutely under her control. Oh my gosh. Next is her bracelets, capable of shooting small caustic pellets that will kill a person in seconds. Finally, she'll just shoot you with a Desert Eagle. I think those are 50 calibers. Pin up by El Guapo. Not bad. Not bad at all. But they don't show a whole lot in these Indiegogos, which is a shame. I'd like to see more. But then I've heard the opposite is true, that Zach was showing too many pages, and people said don't do it. It takes away the mystery or something. I would like to see more pages, more writing, but I get it. If people, but I think when you're an unknown, it's better to show more writing, more text, more of your work, because you're an unknown. You have to convince people. With people like John Malin and who's that little Asian dude, Mike Miller, the names, Mike Miller and your boy Zach. You know that their books are already going to be quality, so they don't have to necessarily put a lot out there. Whoa, trading cards? There are a lot of new books. So, okay, these books go for sale for like a month or 2 months. Usually, I think they go 2 months and then they go to in demand, whatever that means. I mean, it's just in demand is just, they're just selling it until they're ready to ship it, and then once they're ready to ship it, I think they stop selling it. Detective Dead, Crimson Moon. That is by Critias, and he is a very good guy, a very entertaining guy. 38,000, so you're definitely profitable. I think anything in the 30s is profitable, and I guess they're hoping, get the book out. Hopefully, people like it, and they buy the. They get the second one, and you start developing an audience. But like Ethan said, he is absolutely right when he talks about people building their own audience. That is very important, because it doesn't take a huge audience to support you. It's better to have 2,000 hardcore fans who are willing to buy your book than 100,000 very, very casual fans who won't support you at all. If your goal is to sell a book, then you definitely want the people who are behind you, who are willing to buy books, and that's kind of you got to find that audience, but you have to You have to build up to it. And, we're not all Ethan Van Sciver. He has an absolute talent. He has an absolute gift of the gab. So does Cecil, and so does your boy Zach, and so do a few others. They're building these YouTube channels. And the thing with the YouTube channel is it takes time to get good at it. Someone like Cecil, and Cecil was good right off the bat. He had amazing skills just instantly. But even Ethan, who is amazing, he's amazing now, but his first few months of being online, he was doing art streams and things like that, which is a total waste of his talents, because the guy is really funny and he has great comedic timing, and doing art streams that nobody watched. And all of a sudden, once he switched into Star Wars and there's so many idiots involved with Star Wars who seems like they're hell-bent on destroying Star Wars, especially with that rumor that came out now that the reason Disney's what is that, the new show they have, the new Star Wars show, the reason they don't have the old characters from the original trilogy, the trilogy that when you think of Star Wars, you think of the original trilogy, is because they don't have the rights to them, or they have to pay a fee to use them, something like that. That's why when they use the Millennium Falcon, which is one of the most iconic, I guess the X-Wing's also up there. When I was a kid, actually, the X-Wings were cooler than the Millennium Falcon because the X-Wings looked like aircraft, where the Millennium Falcon is not aerodynamic at all. It's strictly a spacecraft. But the reason they used the Millennium Falcon with the square dish is because it was used in the Force Awakens. And the originals were used, I guess, with a circular dish. That's why they used it, and that's why they don't have any of the interesting characters, because either they have to pay a fee for it, or they simply don't have the rights to it. Which, when I heard that they sold Star Wars for $4 billion, about $4 billion, it was $2 billion in cash and $2 billion in stock. Which, if Lucas was smart, he would have sold that stock, started selling that stock immediately. If he had any inkling of how badly Disney was going to screw up. So anyway, when I heard that story about the $4 billion, I thought, well, that's a lot of money. I guess that's what it's worth. I mean, I didn't know anything about. I mean, I enjoy Star Wars, and but I didn't know anything about the market cap of Star Wars and what its market value actually was, because someone was saying, I was reading some comments earlier, people were talking about, the actual value for Star Wars, if you sold the rights to it, would be way more than $4 billion. So the rumor that Disney doesn't have complete legal, they don't have like a fee simple agreement, which is, in the entire rights, the intellectual property, they only have some rights, and some rights are retained. That's why the park doesn't have all the old trilogy stuff. That kind of makes sense, because they said, well, $4 billion probably isn't enough to actually buy Star Wars. And then another person was talking about, Disney should be, Star Wars should be a cash cow. There's 6 films in the background, and people have a very positive association with Star Wars, especially the people in their 40s and 50s who have money, who will buy DVDs and graphic novels and products and go to visit Disneyland. They have great memories of Star Wars. Even the prequels, they like the prequels, because they still felt like, Lucas, stay out of the way, shot dog. But for Disney to just throw that away is well, I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know. They the meme "get woke, go broke." Not always true, but Disney is definitely letting ideology rule them instead of just going for profit. And just for the love of God, just make fun escapist films. Just make fun movies. Can we just go back to entertainment? Apparently not, because they made The Force Awakens, which was pretty mediocre. And then they made The Last Jedi, which was just as bad as everyone talks about. It's that bad. It's even worse. It's just shockingly bad. Anyway, I see myself digressing. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next episode.